In that sense, let me come to the ICC because, it, I would say, along with the responsibility to protect, are, the two great institutional, doctrinal high points of the UN of Kofi Annan. These were both, enormously important achievements. The R2P thing much more directly, something coming out of his proposals. But for us, the ICC, in the beginning of creating an independent international justice system that could hold political leaders to account when their own national systems failed and other mass abusers of human rights to account, was, to us very, very, very important. I think we're now at this moment where it's critical that we all support the ICC in assuring that its authority is enhanced and strengthened. But we do it in a very difficult context because, the new action taken by Luis against President Bashir of Sudan has proven, highly controversial amongst many of the constituencies who would be natural supporters of the ICC. I see many of the most progressive, democratic, rule of law respecting African leaders who, for example, were on Britain and America's side on Zimbabwe, not on our side on this ICC indictment issue. I see a division between the human rights community and the humanitarian community on this, with the humanitarian community deeply worried about the consequences to the lives of those it is assisting in Darfur, versus the human rights community that sees this as, an absolutely vital challenge to prevail in the, early life of the court and establishing its independence and authority, and particularly its independence from political interference. So it's a very, it's a difficult challenge. Now, my position on this, is that obviously we've got to somehow try to do the best we can, both for justice and peace in Darfur, and not allow them to become contradictory objectives. But, I feel that, as the representative here of one of the P5 Security Council members, that, despite the kind of concerns that I've just expressed, that it is incredibly important that the Security Council is clear to President Bashir that there is going to be no horse trading around this issue. There is going to be no political deal making where, Bashir in some closed, smoke-filled room does a deal with us and says, well, if I do a little bit on UNAMID deployment and a little bit on the political process and, say the right things on a couple of other subjects, there can be a deferral. I think, the best outcome of this would be if President Bashir had a kind of Damascene-like conversion and recognized that he faced an international community which demanded that he engage with the ICC, that his government engage with the UN and AU over peacekeeping deployment, and that he engage with the rebels and with Chad over peacemaking. And if he was to do all of those things and come back both to the court and the council and say, look, I'm moving strongly to comply with the international community, both its justice side and its security side, then I hope, and if it wasn't words but real proof of it, then I hope there would be wisdom on all sides to recognize that in how we addressed him and his government. But I don't think the way to proceed on this is is deal-making. I think it is for Sudan to demonstrate a profound change of heart in its actions and to come back and show both the ICC and ourselves that it has done it. But I say that with, to be honest, a bit of a heavy heart, because I think there will be consequences, because I very much doubt Sudan will do that. And so I think there will be consequences for peacekeeping, for humanitarian operations, and for this North-South agreement, which has been such a painstaking achievement of American as well as British and other country diplomacy over many years. So, you know, this is not an action without costs, but we are where we are, and as I say, I think we've got to kind of move ahead, and therefore part of it, which devolves on Luis more than it does on people like myself, is to make his case to those African critics, to get them back on side, make them again believe this is their court. This is not the West's court, which is disproportionately going after them. This is their court, which in most cases of its action in Africa has been invited by them to take action. I think it's right in saying that it's only in the case of Sudan that it's actually a Security Council request. But Luis needs to get out there and do some aggressive public relations, because I would hate to see in this divided world, along with the crisis we see in democracy and human rights, more generally, a crisis for the ICC.